right, guys, we are back with another good friend of mine. Actually, as you can tell, I'm building this channel with all my good friends and all the people I respect in our industry. This is Greg, and you guys are in for a treat because I can't have a conversation with him more than 5 minutes and I'm busting up laughing and I'm learning a lot. So, Greg, welcome to the Mango.
Okay, wait. You said your friends, and the first thing that I thought of is I've got friends in low places. Just because it's me, and I'm thinking like that's who I am, right?
I thought you were going to do a Cheers reference where you're like, hello.
I thought about that, but
Yeah.
I also know that if we only sing like 5 seconds, you don't have to pay royalties every time somebody watches. So I also knew to stop the clip early. I'm sorry, I distracted you. Please,
There we
shiny
go.
keys. Yeah, squirrel.
See, we didn't even make it 5 minutes. We're like 5 seconds
Nope.
into this. So
Yes.
Greg has been in dental for a very long time. He's got an amazing consulting company that he'll tell us all about, but he's going to teach us a lot of things because usually he's interviewing me from Front Office Rocks. Now I'm interviewing him and I want to get all this knowledge out of his head of how to help you grow large cases in your practice. So Greg, I'm going to hand it over to you for anyone who doesn't know you and still is listening, because after that singing was not necessarily the best. Tell us who you are so that they know about watching this series with you.
Love it. Thanks so much, Laura, for bringing me on. So Greg Essenmacher, I've been in the industry for nearly 2 decades. I helped launch the Neodent brand for Straumann Group. That was such an amazing experience for me and learned how to build and grow business. 4.5 years ago, started GnA Consulting, and we really help practices build and grow big case acceptance inside their practices, whether it's a single location practice all the way up to some of the largest DSOs that we work with. Specifically, fix full arch, teeth in a day, adding it not just more cases, not just more top line revenue, but doing it profitably. And what we've learned along the way, Laura, is that so many of the marketing companies want to talk about more leads, more impressions, more of that. And so many of the coaches that are out there in the consulting side want to talk about, let us help you how to like convert those cases. Let's talk about treatment coordinating. Now, both of those are important, but it's like goalposts. What we know to be true is that middle part, which is the phone call, is the table setter, the liaison. And when you spend more time there, you can do so much more with that marketing spend and those leads. And you can set the table so much better for those that are actually closing those cases and converting those into dollars. And that's so critically important. And we spent a lot of time at GnA Consulting in that area and have an incredible team that's focused on that right now.
I love that. So as you can see, he actually is business too, not just all fun. But tell me how you got into this. Like, why in the first place did you even start GnA? Like, what did you see was missing in our industry?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things first and foremost. So full arch, teeth in a day is personal to me. So my own mother and her family never brushed their teeth growing up in the thumb of Michigan. They just didn't. And so by the time they were 18, 20 years old, all their teeth came out, floppy dentures. So this is personal to me. It's a passion to me. And so when Neodent came calling, we started doing fixed full arch. In that configuration, the Straumann Green team, they had already had so many of the relationships in the traditional network of referral with the specialist, right? GPs send the cases over to the specialist place the implants, and then it goes back to the GP for the restorative. So this upstart company, Neodent, Purple team here in the US, we had to figure out a different way to go to market. And so it was really working with the general dentistry practices and helping them to build and grow. Everything under one roof concept, if you will. And we did that through a number of different strategies. And because of that, seeing that it wasn't so much about, well, you need better leads, you need better marketing, you need better closing. It was the full suite of everything. What do you need? I need somebody who knows how to change a light bulb. I need somebody who can help me with hiring. I need someone fill in the blank. And as those needs developed, that's what we did at Neodent. That's what my team did at Neodent, solutions-oriented industry partners. And that's when I thought 2021 rolled around. Everybody knows what happened in 2020. And I thought, I can do this on my own, bigger, faster, stronger. And boy, if you've ever thought about building your own business, there is so much more to it than you think. And I've learned along the way as well. But I've also never sold cases myself. So I want to put that caveat out there. Building businesses, coaching coaches, training trainers, 1,000%. I did that in a previous life. But actually sitting and selling those cases, I haven't. So a lot of what I'm going to share with you come from best practices from my team, the team that I've brought in, the ones that were attracted to what we were doing and what we're accomplishing working with other teams just like your people that you're listening to, hopefully. If not, then you're just here for the entertainment purposes, and that's okay too. Get the popcorn, sit back, relax, enjoy.
There we go. There we go. All right. So let's go to the beginning then. You said my favorite words where you were talking about the phones. So we spend all this money. I talk about this thousands of dollars on marketing to make the phone ring, whether it's new patients, whether it's trying to get treatment plans back in, recare, reactivation, whatever. You spend the money to get the phone ring, and then then that's where the ball gets dropped. So let's talk early on. What are some early tips that you have when you are working with a marketing company or you're trying to get that phone to ring in the first steps?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things when the phone rings itself is giving that person on the phone your undivided attention. There are so many distractions that happen. And I can tell you, sure, and I know you mentioned, right, when it comes to like new patient, hygiene share, lifetime value of a patient, I mistakenly thought when we first launched GnA Consulting that it's like, oh, that's the GP side of the business. That has nothing to do with full arch. It has everything to do because it's all related. But when it comes to that hygiene call and that new patient call in hygiene, right? It's I don't want to say it's transactional, but it's a fairly quick call. We know that industry average is about a minute and 45 seconds. When we start getting into these big cases, we know that especially if you're doing direct to consumer marketing, that this needs to be a more emotionally connective call. And when that happens, if you want to make sure that this patient actually shows up because they have no trust built in you whatsoever, giving them your undivided attention is one step in empathic listening. So having empathy. All these distractions that are happening in your practice, whether you're a small practice with 4 team members or a 20 operatory practice, it doesn't matter. All the distractions around that person on the phone, once you engage in that call, needs to be your only point of attention. That's one of them, which is so critically important. Start
So what's
there
your
and you're
advice?
already an advantage. Yeah.
What's your advice in that? I mean, I work at the front desk of a dental office and there's 50 things going on around me all the time and I don't know who I'm answering the phone to. So what are some of the tips that your team gives to offices to be able to do that?
Yeah, ideally, if it's going to be inbound calls or you know that it's an outbound call, especially if you're using some type of system where leads are coming in for these big cases, find a nook, find a corner, right? That isn't sitting right in front of where patients are walking in. Because if you're ignoring a patient that walks in right in front of you for like a minute to 2 minutes, kind of rude, right? Or even one that's coming from the back, right? From clinical and is just trying to check out, right? Because they're just going to blow right by you. And we know that that's not good service either, right? A nod of a head can be helpful and learning to multitask. We know men don't multitask well, by the way, women probably better, but we know that a nod of the head or some type of nonverbal body language can be helpful. But ultimately, especially if you're doing and that direct to consumer marketing or you're going out into the marketplace, like finding a spot to be able to handle those leads other than right in the middle of the battlefield, if you will, is so critically important. Doesn't mean you have to be there forever. It doesn't mean you have to be there all the time, but you can certainly get notifications on your main computer screen where your practice management system is up. So all of these little details, we practice, coach, and train with our team members, that clients that we're working with all the time, right? Because that speed to lead is so critically important.
So back up earlier than that though. You said if you're using some sort of a way to make outbound calls for people who are interested in stuff. So let's say I'm a dentist who I'm like, I want to get more into this. And I've got 3 people at the front desk and they're overwhelmed. How can you do the front end process so that you know that these leads and calls that you're making or getting are more qualified towards what you're looking to build? So
Yeah, you can certainly categorize them, right? And you can certainly leverage AI. I think that that's a huge part of it as well. There are so many different tools that are available now that are getting so much better, right? It depends on what route you particularly want to go. So there's a lot of different marketing companies will talk about this all the time. We have a marketing arm of our division, marketing division in our company as well. When you're looking at the funnel itself, because there's a lot of pray and spray out there, right? Just give me as many leads as you want. That's not the most helpful. Just depends
that
on your
sounds
practice
weird. I've
organization.
never heard that one before. Pray and spray.
The
I
pray and
love
spray? Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the spray and pray, I think, but I think pray and spray sounds better. It's, it is what it is. I have thousands of them, you know that. You know me
it. Yeah.
really well. But it's really being able to differentiate between the leads. And we do this all the time at GnA Consult. Is this lead, and we can see trends according to where they're submitting like a survey form or whatever the case may be. Are they a buyer? Are they a researcher or are they a tire kicker? And there are certain telltale signs right away, beginnings of conversations that happen, surveys that happen, or text communication that happens. So it's all these points of information to be able to disseminate very quickly what type of person are we talking to? What type of lead are we talking to at any point in time? This is critically important because the amount of volume, like you said, in a practice, I think the scenario you just said was three people up front, super busy practice, somewhat overwhelmed, being able to discern what is the highest priority at any point in time, the highest priority actions. That's where having a system and a process in place is so critically important. If not, you're just adding more work to the pile and you're busy, but not necessarily productive. And you're missing those leads that are really the high value leads, especially in high ticket sales items.
So for a dentist who's never done this or a team member, we're talking about a funnel. Can you explain funnel and then how do we, because everybody's the same in a dental office most of the time. The phone rings, we just handle them the same. So how do you recommend, or can you explain that for a dentist of how they would set that up so that those do get the priority?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, work with somebody who actually understands a funnel, right? The top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. And how you can determine where leads are coming in is typically most, especially for high ticket sales, has to do with how many screening questions do you ask an individual before they actually become a lead into your system itself, right? If you're simply, no, we find that as long as we just ask their name and their email, right? Or their first and last name and a phone number, but because we know people will drop off halfway through if we ask them too many questions. Okay, well, then you're top of funnel. And sure, you'll get 250 leads in a month, but what is their actual intent? Like, how much commitment do they actually have? If you ask 15 questions, how long have you had this situation? How long have you been concerned? What's your ask them their sense of urgency. Ask them how, you start to ask him more and more discerning questions. And the more questions you see my hand like coming down, because I hope you're watching on YouTube, as you see my hand coming down, that's the further you're coming down the funnel. Because the further you come down the funnel, the more information you have on that particular person, then you can certainly use any type of algorithm, any type of AI to start to filter people out. And let me just say right here, Laura, it's not a matter of, oh, their credit score is under 650. They're not a good lead. That's BS. There's certainly other ways. And many of our clients and patients that actually move forward and get treatment done in these big tickets don't have the best credit score, right? It's about motivation. It's not about the what, it's about the why. Why is the motivation today? And that's why we were talking about earlier. It's not that initial minute 45 seconds. What's your name? What's your insurance? Let's get you into the hygiene chair. Let's look at lifetime value of the patient. It's about the emotional connection to the patient of, why now? Jenny, you've had a bombed out mouth for 20 years. Why now? Why are you finally going to do something about it? You can't say that, obviously, to a patient. Well, I guess you could, but you really wouldn't say that to a patient, but really finding their motivating factors. And as Sarah and my team would say, it's about finding out what their vision is, and that takes subtlety. But for us, it's not a script, right? And I know you probably have some scripts, and that's
I'm
okay,
not a
right? You
huge
have
script
before.
fan. No, yeah,
And there's others that do. We believe that frameworks work
yes.
really well, and you walk them through. And our framework, which is trademarked, is EAZ, empathy, right? That we talked about empathy. It's the assurance piece, acknowledging what they're actually saying, answering what they say, and asking another question. Doesn't mean you have to answer them exactly. Well, how much does that cost? 28,000. Click. Phone call's done. Forget about your funnel because you might as well just flush it, right? Because there's a lot of leaks in that funnel right now, right? And then asking another question to drive the conversation forward. And then the Z in our EAZ framework is zeal. You probably know I have a lot of zeal, right? But it's talking with a little bit of energy more than the patient and lifting their energy throughout the conversation. Because Maya Angelou said it best, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. And if you make them feel good and uplifted by the end of the call, they have this sense of obligation of, oh, yeah, I kind of like them. Don't exactly know why, but I like them. And people buy from people they like. And yes, we're talking about buying and selling people. It's not a dirty word if you do it with integrity, especially when you're competing for some of these big ticket, high ticket items that we're talking about. And those that are handling the calls at the front, the lead call, as we call them, some people call them setters. This is a critically important liaison, setting the table for our treatment coordinators and at the same time giving feedback to those that are doing the marketing. It is such a critical, they call it a keystone in an arch. A keystone is that one block at the top that holds it all together. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily more important than any of the other pieces, but it certainly is a critical piece. in that arch. And that's what we really look at when we're looking at those that are handling the phones, because it's such a critical piece of the pie.
So, thinking about offices and all the things that we have to do in the front office, if you took on a new client, let's say you brought in a client, they're like, okay, we want more, full cases. But I've got two people in the front. Do you train one? Does one person just handle these calls? Do you, like you said, go somewhere quiet? But I could see me answering the phone, realizing that this is like, I love that you talked about the first part of the call being so important. Me realizing, oh, this is an important one. Hold on one second. Let me go find somewhere quiet to sit and handle this call. So, how would you guide an office to handle this? Like when they're trying to get better at that on the phones?
Well, sure. And like breaking their attention. You know what? Hold on just a second. Let me put you on hold for a minute while I go run to a quiet closet where I can actually hear you. Yeah, not so
Exactly.
much. And I love that you're asking this because it's not a one size fits all. That's not our formula. It's not a 10, 10, 10 equals 30. It's not, right? Because each of our clients that we work with, we customize within that framework because it depends on the client itself. And for those that don't have the capacity to handle their own calls in a way on an expert level initially, we can take care of that for you as well and then slowly transition it once the revenue starts to come in. So there's a lot of different options when working with GnA Consulting. It's not a this is the way, right? We're not the Mandalorian. There isn't one way. There's many ways to get there within the framework that works within practices. Now, there's probably about 5 or 6 models, right? That within you're going to fit within that scope. And that's why we take our time during the discovery phase to learn more about you. What is your goal? Where are you at now? What have you tried? Here's a couple of options and here's our recommendation because we know what's worked before with practices all over the country that we've worked with because we've worked with hundreds. So we know what has worked and we've learned from others that didn't really take the advice we said you should, but don't shit all over yourself. It smells bad and that's okay. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. You just made some bad choices in life. And that's where we help and guide of what's next. Just like the treatment coordinators guiding to a financial yes. And just like with the marketing companies and helping them, whoever's doing the marketing, guiding them to putting out better ads, to being able to identify what is your unique value proposition. That's where this setter, lead call, phone call person, where it makes the most sense. What makes the most sense for your current circumstance? And then where do you want to be 90 days from now? And then 6 months from now? And then 1 year, 3 year, 5 years from now? Because it'll make a determination depending on where they are now and where they're trying to get to. Because if they're trying to scale and buy more practices and grow as as an emerging group, which we have those, that's one path. If it's a single location that just wants to scale and add revenue to be able to exit out to the right, that's a different path. So there's a lot of different paths, and understanding what their vision is and then how we can help them accomplish their goals is so critically important.
So in the next video, I really want to go more deeper into the call, whether it's you or one of your team members, of just like that EAZ that you were talking about. But early on, whether they work with GNA or not. So it sounds like to me, some of the recommendations you have are making sure you're working with a marketing company that really understands funnels, having your goal of what you're trying to accomplish with adding this revenue to your practice, and then fixing the phone issue, meaning who is going to be doing the phones? Are you outsourcing it? Are you having a lead person? Is there anything else in this early on, like kind of setting the stage that you would recommend, or anything that you want to add to that I've just put on that list?
Yeah, that and look at and interview and talk to people who understand and share your vision, and that it's a system and process that you can put into place and then take over, right? If not, then they become a permanent fixture onto your payroll, and that doesn't help your P&L. That doesn't help your long-term profitability. The whole goal is to be able. Here's the thing. There's 3 things limited in life, Laura, whether it's in life, in your personal life, or in business: time, talent, and treasure. You're going to give up some treasure to earn some time and get the talent. It shouldn't be forever, because eventually you flip the scales on that. You've got the talent because you should be coached and trained in it. You've given up some of the treasure, right? And you've earned the time. And so eventually then you get all that back and then some, because you should be in that 8 to 10x range very quickly, in 6 months time. If you set it up right, if you're in alignment in the very beginning and you're willing to commit the resources to make that happen with the investment. That's how we scale practices. And that's how you can make the right investment at the right time with the people that you have, and have this be a positive adjunct and not be a frustration after spending 6 figures with marketing companies and everybody pointing the blame at everybody else. Oh, you're not answering your phones quick enough. Oh, the marketing's not good. The leads used to be better. The patients don't have any money. And you've got all three departments pointing every which way at each other, and nobody has any answers or solutions because that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, I love that. I do think that that's a thing that I've seen that's just everyone's pointing at everyone else. The other thing I see is I see a lot of dentists going to learn how to clinically provide these large cases to patients, but then they don't teach the team. How are we going to implement this in the practice? How are we going to talk about it to patients? And so that's what we're going to jump into next. The next one, I really do want to dig more into the phone call. So if you're watching this for the first time, Greg's entertaining, as I told you, and very smart and has lots of knowledge here. So you and or team members will be joining me, and we're just going to start digging into a little bit more into each part of these steps. And if anybody has questions for you, throw it in the comments, tag us. If you've got subjects you want to talk about, Greg will talk about anything.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. There we go. So thank you. This was a great start. I'm excited for the next time we meet. And I hope for anybody watching this, we've already learned a little bit. You got any outgoing comedy or singing for us? I'm putting you on the spot.
Ooh, I don't know. I started with friends in low places. So, I mean, I could go high, but, we're good. I think we're good. I'll just
Awesome.
leave it there. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Tune
guys.
in next time. We'll bring on somebody who knows what they're talking about. Maybe we'll bring in Naira, who leads up my lead call department. She's super smart.
That would be great.
Ooh.
Let's do
Ooh,
that.
little
We will bring
teaser.
her
You
in.
like that? The teaser to the next episode. There you go.
Exactly. That'll be in the YouTube shorts. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.